two different perceptions. You have one side, and this is what reminds me of it. When Jacob Israel was told that he's the Messiah, the Son of God, the chosen one, the Son of God, even though he knows he wasn't born of the person, God per se, that would have told him that. But he's born like as the Messiah, because the Messiah is birthed into the system. We were told, Scripture was explained to us this way. Jesus Christ was a baby. He was born, and then they all went to worship the baby, and then at one point he grew up, and then he started his ministry around 30 years old. The reality is, the Messiah is going to be somebody that's birthed into this system, and it's going to be on this YouTube platform. You have the Vicar of Christ, you got the Vicar of Lucifer, and you got the actors playing their part. But whoever the Messiah is going to be picked out by, I don't know, whoever is in charge. Whoever that in charge person is, or people. But my perception is this. This is how it works. When you got, again, I could be completely wrong, and I'm saying these things as if it's a matter of fact, dogmatic. I don't want to go in a dogmatic route, but I do want to let you know that this is my perception. This is my free will, my desire to tell you what I think and how the characters are being played out in this YouTube platform specifically for the past 3 years and some change since I've been on there. My perception is the Messiah that was told that you are. There's a Messiah for the house of Israel and a Messiah for the house of Judah. Am I on the right track? The house of Israel, when you listen to Jacob Israel, well, that side over there is related to the house of Israel. Now, the house of Judah, treacherous sister Judah, is over on the other end. My perception, there's two cliques. The one, there's Adam and Eve. 2 cliques, Adam and Eve. Jacob Israel and Derek Bros, there's those two. What's that about a Pollock? So bear with me. It's my perception. Could be wrong, but here's how I get the answers. I'll talk about my perception, whether it's right or wrong, because I won't fear being wrong. I won't fear other people's thoughts of, come on, because what does it even matter? People's thoughts are your thoughts. They're yours. You own your thoughts. Well, the only thing I can do is alter your thoughts in a positive direction or in a hateful direction, because it depends on how much hatred you have in your heart or how much you understand, how much you're willing to open your mind. Now, the only people that have hatred in their hearts for me on my channel I would just have to assume it would be people that work for the inside, because you know who I'm talking about, but you don't like what I'm saying because maybe you have preconceived ideas and self-preservations that you are the Messiah. So when I talk about other people being, it's like a thumbs down disease. This thumbs down, but it could also be an algorithm on my Summer is Here channel, because I do get a lot of thumbs down, more than I do on my main channel. Almost as if there's a troll over here that doesn't know about Robinhood, and if he did, he would give me some thumbs down. But over here has a, maybe it's, could also be certain people I've blocked and they just don't like, so they get every account they get, they thumbs down it. But the hatred that people have in their heart, that's what you own. Your own thoughts, they're yours. Own them. My perception is this. There's 2 clicks. Whether there's literally 2 clicks or one of them is acting as 2 clicks, but I'm leaning more towards there's 2 clicks. There's Adam. There's Eve. Eve is like the original. The serpent was more subtle. Remember, I always keep in mind this now. The world is based upon the Garden of Eden. The world, what's going on behind the scenes, it's all about thou shalt not touch the tree which is in the midst of the garden. What's between your legs? Well, thou shalt not touch it. But in which way? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what their perception is. What they are doing to get you to perceive. Now that I have this understood, that there's definitely 2 sides. There's the Kleck side, there's the Derek side. They've both demonstrated to me how they have the ability to tell you what's going to happen in the planet, and it happens. Whether it comes to Derek's understanding of the riots and Kleck's understanding of the bombs. It's like the bombs and the riots. You send the bombs, he sends the riots. Trump has a script that he's reading that sounds like words that would come out of Derek's mouth. Glenn Beck, as he's talking, sounds like Derek Bros. Just these things that happen, they sound similar. When you got Jacob Israel and Derek Bros together, well, just look at it like this. If Jacob Israel was told by Derek that he is the one that's chosen, then that means that Derek would be really the one playing Jacob Israel. And Jacob Israel is just the acting participant. Here, Jacob, read this, do this, say that. You're very obedient. I love your obedience. Oh, thank you. You as well. No. I watch you. Very obedient. I try. So Jacob Israel. One side has concealed their weapon. One side, as I'm listening to Jacob Israel's video a little bit earlier, talking about the Messiah, that there's a guy, I don't know what his rabbi something or another, he's over there talking to the Messiah. And Jacob said, I can't guarantee he's not talking to the Messiah. Because he was told that he was. And he has to wait a period of time until that's proven. As time goes by, he may be told the truth that he's not. He may be, but someone's going to be in place of. Keep in mind that the world revolves around what's going on between your legs. It's just the way it is. You have to understand it that way. And this is the whole ordeal between the house of Judah and the house of Israel. What's going on with these houses? I never would have thought this before. It's something I would have never talked about at all, because I'm not some kind of sex education or a body anatomy physicist or whatever. But as I'm being shown and how I see these things unfolding, when Jacob Israel's talking about the Messiah and these other concealed, hidden Messiahs being concealed. What is a concealment? Just look from an aerial view, Google Maps, the Philadelphia Art Museum parking lot. Look at it this way, going from east to west. You'll see that it is a straight inversion of absentee ballot fully turning into a woman from a male. You turn it the other way around, it's a concealed device, hidden. But when you turn it the other way around, the first, that B that comes out, the B, the little thing at the street, the curb, it comes out. So one of them is the house of Israel, and one of them represents the house of Judah. And that's how I'm seeing it. So there's a concealed weapon, which I would have to lean more towards the house of Israel, or concealed weapons. This is the requirement for, I don't know, I guess being part of the house of Israel. And then, because you can be a woman, but you're still a man. You can dress up as a man, you can be a woman, you can... I mean, I don't know about Jacob Israel, he's kind of a big guy, if that's really his real body. Because, again, meat suits. Meat suits can be worn. Like, Jacob's a pretty big dude. I never see him in person. When I do, I mean, if I do. But having a big meat suit could really conceal your true body inside if you're a woman. It's one way of doing it, changing your voice. Becoming full man, full woman. This is that side. So I'm connecting the house of Israel being the concealed weapon, and then the house of Judah. I'll get air tomorrow. The house of Judah being a bride of Christ, being maybe even they thought that they could be Christ by doing that, because you know how there's a leader, and then there's 144, and then they're all told the same thing, and there's a whole bunch of people that say, I'm Christ, I'm Christ. No, I am. But you don't believe who I say I am? And then it's like, some people say they're Lucifer. I'm Lucifer. No, I am. No, he is. No. So I look at it like there's like 144 on each end that are told this, but you have a leader that's really that. And then they're told this, and you have a leader. So Adam to me, with my perception, my understanding, how this works with the twin system, is Adam was deceived by Eve, because Eve was deceived by the serpent. Now, does that mean that Eve went from... Is Eve a woman, born woman? Or is Eve born both? What was Adam born? Well, the way I'm seeing it, Adam looks like has the face of a man and hair like women. But remember, they have a king over them. Who has a king over them? The angel, the locusts. They have a king over them, the angel of the bottomless pit. So the angel of the bottomless pit would be the king over them. But you can act like you're a woman. I mean, you can act like you're a man, but really be a woman, but have a face, a meat suit with hair like a woman and a face of a man. But being the treacherous sister, Judah, I can't help but to think that would mean that when Adam took the bait and fell and said, I can do it better than God, falling as Lucifer. Well, Lucifer in that realm with the twin system would be the house of Judah, which turned from male to female. Full female, receiving implant device, possibly is the other. Just look at the Lucy movie. Lucy was implanted with 2 bags of blue things and Lucy, I always looked at Scarlett Johansson, adorned, dressed in red, purple scarlet. John Hanson, hand the son, hand John's hand son. The son, John's the son from just 2 men and a baby using his hand. Maybe that's what it means. But just by looking at Scarlett, I've always seen that her nose, it's like, well, what's going on? I mean, if she just got like her nose fixed, but that's the whole point. Her nose was that way on purpose. So going from male to female, I've concluded, and again, I'll say this out loud because if I'm wrong, I'm just going to look for Derek or either Johnny's to correct me. But I always remember this. There's intention and there's no intention. So I had to keep that in mind. There's trickery. There's leading. Can you discern this? But it really means that. So I'm leaning towards this. And if I'm going to be corrected, then I'll be corrected. House of Judah, treacherous sister, is representing Adam that fell. You fell because you took the male to female route. Full female, now you're a receiver. You used to please yourself, but now you please others. And that would be the Jesus of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then the other Jesus of the house of Israel would be taking the bait as, because the serpent was more subtle than the others. So you took the bait of the worm that never dies. The tree of life, you were told not to touch it in the midst of the garden, but you did, but you hid it. You took it and you hid it. And so that would be the worm that never dies. That would represent the house of Israel. So you have the house of Israel, which also is the Messiah is going to be told that you're the Messiah, but I'm your father. So the father, the house of Israel would be the father God is telling the person that's told that they're the Messiah that you are my son and I'm your father. Okay? That's how I see the house of Israel. Now the house of Judah is more like I'm your son and you're my God. It's the exact opposite. Which means the house of Judah, the leader would say, well, I'm Jesus. I'm Father. You're God. You're my Father. You're God. Therefore, I am Jesus. So, hi, Father. And you're supposed to be like, oh, hey, son. But that's not it either. Because Jesus is Jesus, and his Father is in heaven. And no, it's not a literal person that lives up in heaven either. Even though someone from the house of Israel came from the north and came down, but also somebody else is saying a gadfly is coming from the north. But when you're referring to Sodom and Gomorrah, a gadfly coming from the north would be someone coming from the north. So the Father, it's because here's the thing: if Jesus gets tricked into this, well, I know he didn't get tricked because it was already, the story's already been told. They were trying to trick Jesus into this. This is how I see it back then, if that's the case. The house of Israel was trying to get Jesus to believe that he's the Messiah. Yeah, you're Jesus. Yeah, you are Jesus. I mean, that's true. So technically, they were telling him the truth. But Satan was trying to get him to believe that he is his father, when Jesus knows that his father's in heaven, not a literal place. So that just checks off that deception over there. It's not going to work. And then go over to the house of Judah, which is Adam taking the bait, turning into a woman, and then claiming to be Jesus. And then he'll say, well, yeah, you're my father, you're God, but I am Jesus, which takes it away from Jesus from being Jesus, because Jesus is Jesus. Jesus, him and the Father are one, but he's not claiming to be God, because if he was claiming to be God, he would say, well, yeah, house of Judah leader, you're Jesus, you're my son. And then, but if he takes the bait over here, the house of Israel, it'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm Jesus, but you're my father? No, wait. I mean, I'm Jesus, but you're not my dad. And then over here, it's like, well, no, you're not Jesus. I am. I'm not your dad. You're not my dad. I'm not your dad. I'm not your son. You're not my son. I and the Father are one. Therefore, the Father, God in heaven, sent his only begotten Son, whom this side over here, the house of Israel, is trying to get Jesus to be their king, leader, but he has to agree that Satan's his father. And then over here, the house of Judah, the treacherous sister that turned into from male to female, is trying to claim the birthright of Jesus by saying he's Jesus, and then trying to fool Jesus into saying that he is God, their father, when there's only one God, the Father, and nobody's ever seen him. You're never going to see him, because God the Father is a spirit in heaven. Just like you're never going to see Satan, because Satan, the spirit, is in hell. That's my perception of the house of Judah and the house of Israel. So tell me, am I off? Derek, Johnny 1, Johnny 2, Jacob, Israel, am I off or am I dead on?